Once upon a time, a witch loved stories galore, and greedy as she was, she wanted more and more. When she saw that the librarian had stories of all kinds, she said, "I'll capture you, all your stories will be mine." There took place a curious chase through meadow, tree, and flower, till at last they ended up right at the witch's tower. Now poor Marian, the librarian, a prisoner she'll stay, until the witch is happy and lets Marian go away.
Hi, I'm glad to see you. Today, remember, we have to get a story for Kerfumbly about snow that does not melt. Now, suppose you made a little snowman, and you didn't want it to melt. What would happen if you left it outside and then the weather got warm? That's right, it would melt. Well, suppose that you brought it inside your warm house. It would melt there too, wouldn't it? Where could you put this snowman so that it would not melt? Why, yes, in the freezer. Let's have a story about a snowman who was put in the freezer so he wouldn't melt. We'll take our snowman and a little extra snow to keep him cold. And how about an icicle? We'll put these in the machine. This ought to be plenty cold. And see if we get a story about snow that did not melt. We'll turn the machine on. N-O spells no. Wonder what's wrong. Oh. Please add fireworks. Fireworks? Why would we need fireworks in a story about snow? Here they are, 2 firecrackers. Let's try this again. And we'll turn the machine on. And the book is called The Summer Snowman by Jean Zion. On the last day of winter, when it snowed for the last time, Henry and his brother Pete made a little snowman, an especially small one. It was so much fun, they didn't even hear their mother calling them for supper. That night, when they went to bed, they tried to fall asleep, but they kept getting up and going to the window to look down at the little snowman standing in the cold, bright moonlight on their front lawn. Soon after they had fallen asleep, Henry awakened and started to cry. His brother opened one eye and asked, "What's wrong?" Henry answered between sobs, "The moon will melt the snowman, and in the morning he'll be gone." Pete laughed and said, "Don't be silly. The moon won't melt him." Pete was always telling Henry not to be silly. He laughed some more and went back to sleep. But Henry couldn't sleep, so he climbed out of bed and got dressed. Not making a sound, he tiptoed softly down the stairs. Opening the front door, he stepped out into the still, snow-covered night. Henry had never seen so many stars. They seemed very close, and the moon was bigger and whiter than he had ever seen it before. He put the little snowman on his sled and very carefully pulled it around to the kitchen door. Then he quickly but gently carried him up the steps and into the house. In the morning, when Pete awakened, he looked out of the window and saw that the snowman was gone. Henry sat up and said, "I told you the moon would melt the snowman, didn't I?" Pete just stood there and stared. On his way downstairs to breakfast, Pete stopped and asked, "Daddy, does the moon ever get hot?" "Don't be silly," his father said. "You'd better hurry, or you'll be late for school." After Pete left, Henry helped with the dishes. "Oh, dear," his mother said, "I forgot to defrost the refrigerator last night. I'd better do it right now." When Henry heard this, he ran to his mother and told her his secret. Then he whispered, "I'll show you." There in the refrigerator, surrounded by bottles of milk, eggs, and a plate of leftover turkey, stood the little snowman, looking cold and comfortable. Henry wrapped the snowman in silver paper and hid him in a corner of the deep freeze, at the bottom where it was coldest. He laughed when he thought of Pete and said softly to the snowman, "We'll show him I'm not silly." Summertime came, and still quite often Pete remembered the snowman. He would ask his mother questions like, "Do you think a dog might have carried the snowman under the porch?" His mother smiled, but she kept Henry's secret. One night Pete asked, "Could a polar bear have eaten that snowman?" His father just puffed on his pipe and said, "Now this sounds interesting. There will be a grand fireworks display in the park at night on the 4th of July. Henry's eyes opened wide. He had a wonderful idea. The next day, his mother helped him paint a big sign. When it was finished, he rolled it up, put it under his arm, took a hammer and some nails, and said goodbye. Pete and some friends wondered what Henry was up to. They followed him as he marched down the street toward the town hall. When he got to the town hall, Henry climbed the steps. Next to the announcement of the fireworks display, he nailed his sign, which said, "Come one, come all. First time in history, see a summer snowman on the 4th of July. Time, 12 noon. Place, in front of my house. Signed, Henry, manager." "A snowman in July," said a man in the crowd. "What's your brother up to, Pete?" Pete just stood there and stared. The great day finally came, and a big crowd gathered in front of Henry's house to see what joke he was going to play. Everyone was there, including the mayor, who laughed and said to Pete,
"Well, my boy, do you expect some snow today?"
"Maybe," Pete answered. "You don't know my brother Henry." At the stroke of 12, Henry appeared in the doorway, carrying something. On the lawn, he carefully put down what he was carrying and uncovered it. The crowd moved closer, and Pete gave a tremendous cheer. "The little snowman!" he shouted. There it was on the green summer grass, right in front of their eyes, a summer snowman. The mayor shook Henry's hand and said,
"Young man, you'll make our town famous."
"You and your snowman should be on TV," said the man who lived next door. All Henry's friends congratulated him, and Pete said, "My brother's very bright." After everyone left, Henry turned around. There, instead of his snowman, was just a little puddle of water. The snowman had melted away. At supper that night, Henry didn't talk much. His father, mother, and Pete seemed to understand. As they were leaving to go see the fireworks, Henry stopped and said, "You know, the moon won't melt a snowman, but the sun really will." And out he skipped into the moonlight, followed by his family. The fireworks went off with a bang and a swoosh. Everyone loved them, But they all agreed that the real hit of that 4th of July was Henry's Summer Snowman. Wasn't that a good story? I bet Kerfumbly will really like this one. And if she does, maybe she will finally let me out of here. Will you help me call her? Left and right and Zachary Zoo, here's a story just for you.
Oh, Marion, are they all gone?
Why, Kerfumbly, what's the matter?
Oh, I heard some loud bangs, and they scared me so.
Oh, you don't have to be scared. They were just part of this story that I got for you.
Oh.
Who's this?
Oh, well, this is Susu. Whenever I get scared, I just hug Susu, and, then I feel better.
Oh, kind of like a teddy bear.
Oh, Susu's better than a teddy bear. Oh, the summer snowman. Why, who made the snowman? 2 boys? Peter and who? Oh, Henry. Did their snowman melt? They put it in the freezer. Oh, did Henry ever take it out of the freezer? He did. And then did it melt? Oh. What day did they take the snowman outside? The 4th of July. Why, that's why we heard all those fireworks. Oh, my, they frightened us so. But not anymore, right, Susu? Right. Oh, but what can I tell Marion now so that she won't go away? What? Oh, pretend that I'm still frightened of the noise and... What? Oh, and that we need a bedtime story so we can go to sleep. Good idea, Susu. Marion?
Yes?
Oh, you know, this was just a wonderful story about snow that didn't melt.
Good.
But, the noise, the fireworks, they frightened Susu and me so much. Do you think you could find us a bedtime story so we could go to sleep?
A bedtime story? Do you know any good bedtime stories? You do? Would you come back next time and help me get one for Kerfumbly? Oh, good. I'll see you then.
Once upon a time, a witch loved stories galore, and greedy as she was, she wanted more and more. When she saw that the librarian had stories of all kinds, she said, "I'll capture you, all your stories will be mine." There took place a curious chase through meadow, tree, and flower, till at last they ended up right at the witch's tower. Now poor Marion, the librarian, a prisoner she'll stay, until the witch is happy and lets Marion go away.